Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Raven Crone, and I'm a Crone High Priestess of the Wiccan Circle of Friends Coven that started in Lebanon, New Hampshire in the United States. Some of you may know me by my previous name, Christina Cornitz. People have been telling me for the past few years that as an original practitioner of witchcraft and then Wicca in New York City in the early 1970s, that clarification is needed pertaining to the practices of both Wicca and witchcraft. I am told that what is currently trending on social media seemingly is pulling away from the safety and foundation of the craft. I was a curious child and learned to read very young, although I'm unsure how I learned to read because I wasn't in school at the time. Also, just before she passed, my mother said that she never taught me how to read. I believe that my curiosity on religion came from reading the books on my mother's shelves. Books such as Sid Arthur and the Bible. I think it was the King James Version. Later, I read some of the other versions. Anyway, as my family suffered the little children and dragged me to churches and revivals, I became more interested in God and places of worship. It's still my interest today. I still want to know about rituals of religions and their meanings and why and how people worship. I don't know if I'll ever find out why, but over the years, I also read about the Eastern religions like Buddhism and Islam and Hinduism. I went on my own to all manners of places of worship, Baptist and Methodist churches, Episcopalian churches, Jehovah's Witnesses halls, Catholic churches from around, all of them from around the neighborhood. I found out about the Amish and Mennonite and others with the graces of National Geographic. I learned a lot more about the world and its religions, also because of National Geographic. I was saying that I was interested in all of these things, I was not intentionally looking to add religion to my life. I was just interested in knowing things that I found fascinating, I was not a joiner by any stretch of the imagination, of course, until I was. Anyway, one day back in the early 1960s, a friend of my then husband gave me a book for a birthday gift. The book was The Great Book of Magical Art, Hindu Magic, and Indian Occultism by 𝗨𝗪𝗏. I don't know why he bought that book for me. Maybe he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I'm not sure. In any case, I devoured this book. I read it from cover to cover. Sometimes when we read, we have to go back and reread, things in order to understand or to see something that we skipped somehow. I read this book and understood everything that it was trying to convey, or I believe I did, but I reread it anyway. A few times. I did try my hand at some of the spells in the book, mostly talismanic magic. I thought that they were effective in that I felt that they worked for what I wanted. I believe that this led me in trying to understand the 𝗵𝗰 the circles painted on the barns. This led me in all manner of different directions of magic, but this is what ultimately may have led me to witchcraft. Just the research alone. When I was about 32 years old, I self-initiated into witchcraft with instructions from a book entitled The Witch's Workbook by 𝗥𝗡𝗣𝗅. At that time, I thought that witchcraft was a religion. It was presented to me with a god and a goddess. Maybe I thought that paganism was the same thing, all bound up together in nature worship, you know? Either way, I thought I was the only witch in the world. Of course, this was 50 years ago, you know? Somewhere around 1972, I realized there was a small community of witches in the Brooklyn, New York area. I found this out by way of a local newspaper called the Village Voice. Okay. Within it, I found an advertisement for the Warlock Shop, also in Brooklyn. I was living in Brooklyn at the time. They had a sort of Sunday school, which was called the Pagan Way, taught by Herman Slater and Eddie Baczynski. I started attending. This is where I began learning about Wicca, or what was being called Wicca in Great Britain. They hadn't decided here yet, you know. I attended these classes for about a year until becoming solitary. There was a lot of stuff happening in life at the time, you know. A few years after leaving the Pagan Way School, I was initiated into the Minoan Sisterhood by Lady Rhea and Carol, also of New York. The New York area, anyway. I'm not sure. I can't remember if they were in Queens or where, you know. Maybe it was the Bronx. You know, things get away from you when you get a lot of years when you... Anyway, I also studied with Gavin and Yvonne Frost's School of Wicca and received my long-distance initiation. A while later, I went to Canada and was initiated into a Scottish fairy coven while I was there. In about 1981, I received my Doctor of Divinity via the Universal Life Church to become a legal minister as far as the U.S. government was concerned, you know. In 1985, I studied with the 𝗥𝗡𝗣𝗅 Association via mail order, the Rosicrucian. I had a member nearby who was a mentor. And I joined 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗆 Susan B. Anthony Coven #1 online for a year in the 1990s. Somewhere in there, I received my 𝗥𝗡𝗣𝗅, my beads, from the 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏 House of Santeria. I formed covens, published a book entitled Serpentine Grove, tongue-in-cheek, and wrote many articles. I've owned an occult store, taught classes. The occult store was in Plattsburgh, New York. I taught a class at Fordham Rose Hill Campus School of Religion and gave a talk at the State University of New York at Albany and many other places over the years. Oops. My viewpoint has changed. My viewpoint has changed many times during my lifetime, but much of it has stayed the same. I continually investigate and learn because it's fun. You know, it's really fun. On this channel, I would like to tell you how the early days of Wicca was shaped in the Eastern United States. I would like to show you via witchcraft how to prepare your mind, meditate, pray, and other medium in order to put more power and success into your spells. So, welcome to my video. Welcome to my video series on Wicca and witchcraft. I'm Raven Crone, and I'm excited to be your guide on this journey. This first video is an introduction to me and my teaching style. The next two videos will cover the foundation of Wicca and then witchcraft. We'll start by defining these terms and then move on to a third video, choosing a goddess to emulate or recognize that one has chosen you, that a goddess has chosen you, or a god if you're a man, you know. I've also set up a Patreon account for sharing and discussions. This will be a great place to connect with other students and ask questions. I'll also be hosting a monthly live stream discussions. And on top of that, a 6-week holiday circles on Patreon, where we will each have our own circles at the same time. But we'll all be live together, you know. Finally, you can find me on Facebook under my name, Raven Crone, and then under the title, The Book of Shadows and Lights. You'll see a picture probably of me and Rowley. This is Rowley. So, please join me on these conversations. Blessed be you and all your works. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏. So it is.